Welcome to Disaffected. I'm Joshua Slocum, and this is the show where we talk about politics, culture, and relationships through a psychological lens. It's July 20th, 2025. You stay with us tonight. We've got an interview with marriage and family therapist Jake Freeman. No, not Jake Wiskerson, the other marriage and family therapist, Jake. This is a different one, but he actually knows him. It's a very incestuous guest circuit here on Disaffected. But Jake Freeman is going to join us to talk about cluster B and wokeness infecting, of all places, Mormonism. It's a good conversation. But let's start out with something I wrote for The Blaze a couple weeks ago. If you don't know this, I'm a weekly columnist for The Blaze, their lifestyle section, which to me is absolutely hilarious because who would have thought I'd end up writing for the men's lifestyle section at a conservative magazine, but here it is. I call this Revenge of the Uglies because there's no gentle way to say it. The repellent, the dim-witted, and the untalented have been promoted far above their station, and America is suffering from it every day. People who 100 years ago would have been, and I'm not saying this to be funny, actually would have been circus freaks that cost you a nickel to take a peep at. These people today walk down the streets and walk down Hollywood red carpets as if they were the platonic ideals of manhood and womanhood. I'm not trying for comic effect with this. I mean everything I'm saying. Here's an example. Last week in a Staples parking lot, I watched an SUV pull into an empty spot. In the back window of this SUV was a bumper sticker that said, "Just doing bitch things," in that cutesy, girly handwriting typeface, with pink swirls and cartoon butterflies all around it. And the rest of the bumper stickers were, of course, things for Planned Parenthood and other girl boss causes. The driver opened the door and began the deboarding process. At about 5 foot 5 inches, she must have weighed 300 pounds. At that level of obesity, it is impossible to tell somebody's age. She might have been 25, she might have been 45. But she climbed down from this truck backwards, holding onto a handrail, and the truck noticeably bounced on its suspension as soon as she removed her weight. She was wearing what I think of as poison tree frog colored clothing, baseball cap, and unfortunately tight t-shirt and shorts as she huffed and puffed her way across the parking lot. Now I have to pause and try to reassure, because the grotesque has become so normal that noticing it and saying that it is grotesque is now taken as a sign that you are a mean, nasty, horrible person who just pokes fun at people's looks because you want to make them feel bad. No. The way I just described this was not mean, it was not inaccurate, and it was not cold-hearted or motivated by malice. It is an accurate account of an unsightly and demoralizing everyday spectacle in America. We are full of morbidly obese men, women, and now children. I'm seeing 6 and 7-year-olds who are audibly gasping for breath. That's how fat they are. 6 and 7. Young women walk down the streets in prostitute clothing, professional clothing. Young men won't even wash the food particles or grease out of their straggling beards and hair before they while away the afternoon spending their barista's salary on comic books and what we used to call kids' interests. We have an epidemic, if you will, of bad physical and mental health in this country. But this epidemic is not being caused by capitalism or patriarchy or oligarchy, or any other leftist boogeyman. This is something that we Americans are doing to ourselves. Regardless of the real and actual problems with our unhealthy food supply and our over-reliance on pharmaceuticals, it remains true that most of our problems are because of our own personal, individual choices. People don't want to change. They don't want to take responsibility. the enormously fat, the face metal wearers, the lumbering transvestites with Herman Munster jaws who totter on heels down the salad dressing aisle, daring you to say anything about it. These people don't want to get better. But worse, they demand that the rest of us call them beautiful and healthy and brave and authentic. The Obamas are a great example of this, actually, minus the morbid obesity. They're a great example of how effective some lies are when we agree to pretend that we don't know that they're lies. Look at the two of them on your screen. There's Barack and Michelle Obama. Neither Michelle nor Barack were ever conventionally attractive and good looking. That was never true. They're not today and they never have been. Barack Obama is goofy looking. Look, and he always has been. Look at him. He looks like a caricature drawing, but in real life. The word handsome is ridiculous to apply to that jug-eared, corn-teethed man. And that's what he actually looks like, and everyone knows it. And yet we have been told, since Hope and Change first came along in 2008, what a dashingly handsome man he is. And her, come on. Beginning with the 1960s hippie counterculture, our values have been slowly but surely turned around 180 degrees. What may have seemed cheeky and cute in 67, young men rebelling by having long hair, young women rebelling by burning their bras or claiming to have burned their bras. This has metastasized. And the cancer looks exactly like the inside of a psychiatric hospital, the asylums that we decided weren't necessary and closed them all. Welcome to the cuckoo's nest. Leftist culture, which is mainstream culture, not the fringe, mainstream, it's pulled an inversion. It tells us that morbid obesity is healthy and beautiful. Like this spread in Cosmopolitan magazine we all remember. Actually, it was the cover of a really fat woman raising her leg up, and the caption was, "This is healthy." It tells us that the mortification of the flesh that we call gender-affirming care is authentic and natural, also loving. So possessed are we by this dark spirit that Americans will cry tears of what appears to be joy when they see confused 14-year-old girls showing off their mastectomy scars from their gender-affirming care. It would be dishonest for me to strike a Christian pose because I lack faith in God, though I continue to try to find it. But it is getting impossible for me to see this societal sickness as anything else but exactly what Isaiah 5:20 warned of. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. It's getting harder not to see the truth inversions, the lying, the alleged compassion that's actually about loathing and control. It's getting hard to see that as anything other than the devil himself ascendant among us. If the fish rots from the head, then let us identify the head. In 21st century America, it's the media. I almost said Hollywood, but in 2025, celebrity is delivered to us through a million refractions on our social media apps and personal devices instead of from the silver screen. But it is the culture and the artistic institutions that were first and most completely captured by woke insanity, and the sludge at that mountain peak has broken free and it's buried us all in the valley below. We are wallowing in it. Take the recording artist Lizzo, who is a pop star, known for proudly displaying her morbidly obese body in sheer see-through clothing. And there's no reason for it either, because Lizzo is actually a genuinely talented flutist and musician. Really. Yes, as we said on the show last week, she's now slimming down because perhaps she realized that body positivity, our current euphemism for never telling fat people that it's very dangerous for their health and also unsightly to make us watch their naked bodies all the time, maybe that is finally coming to its end. But Lizzo is just one of countless celebrities, actors, musicians, and other tastemakers who've been parading their living decomposition before us and begging us to call it beautiful. And if it's not a call to pretend that people who deliberately ugly themselves up are actually beautiful, then it's a demand to worship the most meager talents as if they were once-in-a-century prodigies. Actor Pedro Pascal is a really good example. He's really been irritating me lately. He's the male embodiment of this phenomenon. This guy originally rose to fame on the popular show Game of Thrones, and now that it's over, this forgettable actor is everywhere. Magazines, Twitter, Instagram, every day, all the time, 24/7. Pedro goddamn Pascal. He's all over social media declaiming one day about Palestine, the next day he's haranguing the public for not sufficiently supporting the trannies. Here he is at the recent premiere of yet another superhero franchise movie installment.
It's important to, protect people and human beings, especially those that are
Look at those ugly serial killer glasses.
The right to exist in the bodies that belong to them and in the world that they never asked to be brought into. And it's a very, very small, vulnerable, inspiring, courageous, and brave community that fills me with a lot of inspiration. And so therefore I think that, it's very important to protect that in humanity. They would do that for us.
They would do that for us. People, we need to protect human beings who are simply asking for the right to exist in the bodies that belong to them in the world they didn't ask to be brought in. What? You know what? Forget it. I'm for AI now. Bring the fucking AI. Bring the AI actors. Get rid of these people. I cannot stand them. Listen to how boring, stupid, and high school this guy sounds. This is our best. This guy's my age. This is how a 50-year-old sounds. This is an A-list actor in Hollywood? Really? Notice how you know this guy's name. A lot of you keep seeing Pedro Pascal everywhere, even if you haven't seen him in any movie that you can remember. He's been mugging for the cameras for months, saying whatever leftist tomfoolery is most popular that day, while breathless online girly fan magazines hyperventilate about how hot he is. The problem here, and the reason why he irritates me as much as he does, is because he comports himself as if he were, excuse me, Cary Grant, or in modern terms, Henry Cavill. As if he were not only as classically handsome as the favorite leading men of Hollywood, but also as charming and charismatic. He's not. Pedro Pascal is middling at best in both looks and demeanor and ability. But he carries himself in the world as if he were the gorgeous quarterback hero from high school. It's all good fun to crack wise about lunatic celebrities, but this emotional and moral sickness has not stayed confined to the glitterati. Millions of American young people are forming their interests and their personalities on these broken, narcissistic people, and they're doing it right out in stores, in schools, and on the streets of the towns that we live in. And it's not just an aesthetic problem. It's ruining the actual physical and mental health of our young people. What they need to hear, what young people actually need to hear, and that means that we adults have to actually start saying this to our children again, is that they cannot be anything or anyone they want to be. Take a moment to get over the shock. But then think about that. You can be anything you want. That was never true. That was never a true thing to say to a kid. And it's not a great way to motivate a kid. That was a cruel lie that started with participation trophies and has ended up with mutilated genitals on children. That's you can be anything you want. Let us start pulling mediocre and inadequate people down off the perch that they had no right to climb onto in the first place. It doesn't matter if that feels mean. It didn't feel mean 20 years ago, before adults were convinced that everything humanity knew about love, life, health, and the soul was just like your opinion, man. The world does run, has always run, and will always run on rules that favor skill, accomplishment, beauty, and superior intellect. It doesn't matter if the unfortunate and the pushover enablers don't like that reality. It's still reality. Feelings don't change reality. And you know what? Reality doesn't give a shit what we think about it. The Pedro Pascals of the world are running on credit that wasn't even their own to begin with. They're borrowing prestige they did not earn, and we're all acting as if they're entitled to it. We can break this spell by telling the truth. You know what I would say to Pedro Pascal? You are not handsome, you are not charismatic, and you have no capital built up to say the things that you do. So shut up. Now, a major reason why the inadequate, the mediocre, and the ugly are able to take their revenge as they are today is that we have confused discipline in child rearing with abuse. They are not the same thing. Actual child abuse is taking place at astonishing rates. It's not just as bad as it always was. It is worse now than when I was a child. But of course, it's not called child abuse. It's called gentle parenting, or it's called being a trans parent, or it's called letting my child learn at his own pace. Stop. Whoever's freaking out right now, getting ready to type that YouTube comment, stop. I'm not saying there's anything abusive about adapting a little bit to your child's learning style. What I am saying is that this has gotten out of control, and we're acting as though the children should lead us. That's what gentle parenting is. None of these ways that we describe this are accurate. What this actually is, even though these parents aren't mean, they don't mean to do this, it's child neglect. And it borders on and sometimes becomes child abuse through neglect. Even if mommy or daddy never hits the child. We call neglect and emotional abuse love, and we call discipline and instruction in life skills abuse. They're not the same. Even discipline and hard-assery from a parent who is often or usually abusive, that is itself is not abuse. I'll give you a personal example. As everyone knows watching the show, my mother is deranged with borderline and narcissistic personality disorders. The childhood for my brother, my sister, and me included beatings, pedophilic molestation, night raids, being pulled out of the bed at midnight to rewash the dishes, pathological lying, and dumping 2 of these children into juvenile hall when they got depressed, ran away from home, or tried to kill themselves. That was child abuse. In short, my mother was the villainess in a Lifetime television movie. But the basic skills and responsibilities that she did impart to me and to us, those were not abuse. Before the age of 12, I knew how to unit shop for groceries on price, how to run a house, how to keep it clean, cook supper, and mind my brother and sister, and who to call and what to do in an emergency. My mother also taught me how to drive a car at 12 years old because someone needed to be able to get the family home or my mother to a hospital if anything should happen to her on the trips that we used to take in the family station wagon out to the country. That was not child abuse. That was just smart. Yes, it is true that I often had too much responsibility as a child because there was no man in the house. Yes, I was parentified, and the parentification was abuse. But my mother expecting me to have those skills and those competences that she taught me was not only not abuse in and of itself, it was one of the good things that she did that is still serving me today. I am grateful that she taught me these things. And nothing that I was expected to do as a child was anywhere near as difficult or physically demanding as what Laura Ingalls was trained to do by the time she was age 10 on the prairie. All right. I was going to say, this segment is about black women having their say, but as you'll see, it's not actually about black women. Here's the setup. This is Piers Morgan's show. One of the guests is Riley Gaines. She's the collegiate swimmer who's become the public face of fighting the incursion of trans men in women's sports. They call themselves trans women. The other guest, I have no idea what its name is, but he is a man in a Party City shake and go wig. The wider context of the interview is I don't know and I don't care. There's only one important thing going on in here, and that is the knowledge that black people are incapable of being racist under any circumstances. And the reason for that is they black. Let's roll it, please.
Piers,
now you can
black
respond.
Women cannot be racist to white women. Are you kidding me?
Sorry?
That makes no sense.
Sorry?
Black women cannot be racist to white women. Do you not understand that?
Oh, yes, they can.
You don't have to.
Oh, yes, they can.
To understand that.
Oh, yes, they
But
can.
that's very much
and you've been
impossible.
racist to me.
That's very much impossible.
You've been racist to me, a white man, by saying I'm a race baiter. Yeah.
How am I racist to you? I'm black. I can't be racist to you.
You call me a race baiter with no
You're
evidence.
Racist to me.
When have I been a race baiter?
You can be racist to me.
When have I been a race baiter?
But I'm a powerhouse.
Tell me when I've been a race
I'm a
baiter.
powerhouse.
Well, you may be a
Piers,
powerhouse.
Understand something.
You may be a powerhouse. You may be a powerhouse.
Okay.
When have I been a race baiter?
I want to admit that.
When have I been a race baiter?
Okay.
When have I been a race baiter?
Okay.
This is absurd.
No, hang on, tell me.
Honey.
Blossom, give me one example of me race baiting. Blossom, go.
I'm here, at this point, I'm just here to talk about trans women in sports. I said what I said.
So you don't have anything, do you?
Repeat anything.
Okay, at this point, I'm just here to talk about trans women in sports. I said what I said. The histrionics, the nails, the hand gestures, the repetition of these narcissistic... What is it with black people these days? I said what I said. I am a powerhouse. I am a powerhouse. I am a powerhouse. I am a powerhouse. If it's on the side of the road, it's like, what I did, what I did, what I have did, what I have did. Oh my God, it's everywhere. Let's go out with an observation from author Steve Salerno. He's a great follow on Twitter. And he wrote, the post-Jim Crow coddling of Black America, born largely of the narrative spun by academics who embraced white guilt and then immersed their students in the doctrines of white guilt, has spawned at least 2 generations of black people who are delusional at best, dangerous at worst. Couldn't have said it better. Now, coming up next, we've got a conversation with marriage and family therapist Jake Freeman, who is noticing cluster B the way a lot of you and I are noticing it, but he's also noticing it creeping into Mormonism. We're going to talk about that and also what makes so many Christian denominations so susceptible to these brainwashing techniques. So come back and see us for the conversation. Do you need somebody to talk to who's not going to tell you you're crazy for noticing things? You can talk to me. I offer coaching and consulting 1-hour sessions by video call or phone if you prefer at joshuaslocum.net. Of course, I specialize in talking to people about abuse psychology, broken and fractured relationships, and often, unfortunately, cluster B. I understand. I'm a layman and I'm a peer, but I've been there and I've heard it all. There isn't anything you can tell me that won't shock me. But I'm also available to talk about other things. Funeral planning, yeah, believe it or not, can save you thousands of bucks if you're thinking about shuffling off this mortal coil. So if you could use an ear, Check it out, joshuaslocum.net. I've been traveling for a couple of weeks on family business and other stuff, so my schedule has been pretty tight, but it's opening back up and I've got lots of slots open. If you don't find one that fits your schedule, send me an email through the website. I'll make you an appointment off my listed hours. And if you're having a financial hard time, I'll meet you on a sliding scale too. So once again, please take a look at joshuaslocum.net. Our guest tonight is Jake Freeman, who is a marriage and family therapist, an executive coach, and many other things he's going to tell us about. And the reason why I brought him on the show tonight is we've been talking with each other on social media, and he hangs around with a good crowd, such as my other friend Jake Wiskerson, another marriage and family therapist who's been on this show. And Jake Freeman has some very interesting observations about Mormonism and the sect's apparent vulnerability to take over by woke ideology, which is something that I have been noticing in many Christian denominations. And I thought it would be interesting to get his perspective, because Jake also recognizes that wokeness and cluster B are shades of the same thing, maybe even just different words for the same kind of psychology, and he's very concerned about it. So, Jake Freeman, welcome to Disaffected.
Thanks for the invite, Josh.
So tell us about the other things you are that I didn't list. You're a marriage and family therapist, you're an executive coach, you've got a background in the Marines. Give us the canned version of who you are and what makes you Jake Freeman.
I started realizing that the boomer generation was getting out of the trades and having young teenage sons. My former employment as an HR director for Amazon Web Services was going to go away due to machine learning at the time, and now AI. I determined to give my boys something they could do, and so we picked up some trades offerings, and over the last 5 years have expanded it into full home, custom home building, while I'm doing the executive coaching and the consultations.
So what is it, how long have you been doing mental health counseling, whatever it is that your state board may call your particular set of letters? They're all different. How long have you been doing that? When did you go to school? When did you start practicing?
Well, I always had an interest in industrial organizational psychology. I got into grad school for it, first person in my family ever. Decided I probably was getting too top heavy without requisite experience, so I commissioned in the Marine Corps for a while to see really how organizations in duress or at their red line function. Post-Marine Corps PTSD came up, and I went to a PhD trauma therapist, laid everything out to him about the dead bodies and the reactions I was having post-Marine Corps. And he asked me, and he said to me, and I'm not kidding you, have you ever considered that maybe you're transgender?
Okay.
Right. And I said, the fuck did you just say? So that led me into saying, okay, there's a real problem in this therapy industry because veterans can't get care. So I jumped in about 2017, finished, moved to Europe for a while, couldn't continue grad school over there due to various rules. Finally finished the academic portion, 2 years ago, and then the, internships and things last year. And now I'm just prepping for the final licensure exam here in the fall.
Do you have any worry that you are going to be denied a license because you are very clearly not in line with woke, which is what the mental health field right now believes that it is? It believes that that is psychology and mental health?
No, because I had some great leadership in the Marine Corps. They got me into everything from legal admin, which is closer to the IO side of things, into some really cool human exploitation team training, which is the newer term. The military decided that PSYOPs sounds bad and human exploitation teams sound good. It doesn't sound better.
No,
anyway,
it doesn't.
So,
and in 10 years, they'll discover that and introduce a new euphemism, etc., etc.
Yes. And so I'm pretty well read on propaganda and what is called ideological thought reform, which is in the common parlance we call it brainwashing. The communist Chinese created the what we consider brainwashing now. If you read the early psychological and sociological fathers who studied prisoners of war coming back from the Korean War who had been brainwashed by the Chinese communist government, you will find detail upon detail almost identical to what the American left is doing. It's no mistake. And so the problem with neo-Marxism or Marxist thought reform is it doesn't match reality. That's why you have to crush it into people and crush reality out of people with it. And so I have quite a bit of support on my side when I do finally do the final examinations and things like that. I'm not so worried about it.
Good.
In Montana.
Well, that sort of alludes to something we're going to get into, because there seems to be no place that is not vulnerable to woke. But I want to talk about what you've seen in Mormonism, your relationship to the religion, because it looks to me like you've come and gone a little bit when it comes to that. So it appears to me, looking at what you write, that you've got an interesting blend of an insider's and an outsider's perspective. And some of the things you've brought up in your writing have to do, I mean, you and I have talked privately about how vulnerable the Mormons have turned out to be to adopting these, we can call it woke, we can call it communist, we can call it cluster B. I think these are all accurate. What's your relationship to Mormonism, and what are you seeing, Jake?
So I grew up in a very straight line Mormon LDS family.
Yep.
Served a mission to Sweden, came back. After my experiences in Afghanistan, the first time I would say that I ever experienced true evil, both on the Taliban jihadist side as well as the DoD side, it left me really wondering, what are we doing in America? It's difficult to come back to the States from Marine Corps infantry deployments and see the generation of morbidly obese consumer Americans who couldn't find Afghanistan on a map, right? But they're always voting for the next war, and it's easy to develop a discontent, right? Mm-hmm. And I found that at the time for me, there was a over focus within the LDS Church on image management. A lot of concern about teenage girls with skirts that were too short or double pierced earrings, things like that, as though that's the greatest evil of our day, where I had seen true human suffering and evil. Anyway, we then moved to Sweden, and we just kind of moved away from the church largely for about 8-9 years, and then coming back to Montana post COVID or during COVID, my social media, my Twitter or X algorithm brought me back into some of these LDS anti-Mormon or counter-Mormon conversations, and I was shocked at how much the same woke nonsense that I saw in corporate America that I started seeing within the DoD, and certainly just am aware of because I read about such things, was a free currency within discussions. And it really, really worried me, because you have the fantasy that somewhere there's final bastions where the orcs don't get into, right? Yeah. And when you find out that they're there, and it shocks you. And
can you give some specific examples, or examples that illustrated some of the general woke themes that you've seen being used as serious discussion points when discussing LDS theology or politics?
The de-evolution of standards. So there's a scripture in the Book of Mormon that has been way over-indexed by current Mormon culture, and that is contention is of the devil, right? The devil, Satan, is the father of contention. What that has metastasized into is anybody who contends against another person is a bad faith actor.
So conflict itself, all other things being equal, is itself a sin.
Yes.
In this
now,
understanding.
In this understanding, and again, I say they've over-indexed it, right? It's like a subservient woman, or a woman who believes in a marriage that she should bow her head and say yes to her husband, but then ultimately becomes an absolute doormat. That's not how it's supposed to be. Many boomer husbands, happy wife, happy life. They've completely hung their testicles up on the doorknob for the wife. Not how it's supposed to be. And so I've watched and observed LDS members. There was a therapist, very popular PhD therapist in Utah, that just got excommunicated out of the church after years and years of causing damage because of the things she was teaching as a therapist, and then publicly on her social media regarding, wives leaving husbands, that listening to your husband is a form of evil and subjugation, that teaching your kids standards, holding them to accountable standards of going on missions or waking up in the morning for seminary or tithing, that it was all coercive. And it's that thing we see across when neo-Marxism gets into universities. All of a sudden, testing scores drop or are thrown away. Your ability to read, write, and arithmetic go away because standards are bad somehow. Standards are white supremacy. Standards are systems of oppression. And so when I started noticing in the same type of language from these what are they called? Progressive Mormons, progmos. I said, wait, I know what that is. An enemy hath done this. And so me coming in kind of as a former insider, now outsider, saying, hey, knock it the fuck off. Like, I know who you are. You're going to knock this shit off. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with a cluster B woman before, Josh, but you know that thing where you hold them to exact, fair, even-minded account of, hey, these are the bulletized things that you did that don't work in a relationship, and they completely melt down with reactor fire. Yes, just because you shined a light on them.
The very idea. I mean, this is and I can no longer, I can't deny this. I see feminism as a form of cluster B. It
is now.
And this upsets some of my female viewers and listeners, and I don't mean to do that deliberately, but I don't any longer see a separation, and I don't even believe that the original first wave feminism was a pure thing that somehow got hijacked. I think this all came out of narcissism and psychological dysfunction. I'm not saying that giving women the right to vote was an evil. I'm not, this is not a caricature, but feminism is based on resentment and narcissism. The feminist must be a victim of something, and that something is misogyny and men. And when you try with a cluster B woman, I tried with my mother, of course, for decades. I tried with many of my female friends. You cannot treat them equally, because if you do treat them equally, meaning holding them to the same, not higher and not lower, but the same standards of behavior you'd expect of a man, they will nuclear reactor meltdown. They will scream at the top of their lungs. They will be a complete bitch, and they'll call you an abuser. I mean, just no, you're not allowed to take that without paying for it. You fucking misogynist, right?
Right.
It's very childlike.
It very much is. And, you call it narcissism. I agree with you. I think Karl Marx was one of the most retarded humans in the last 1,000 years.
And also evil.
Right. I think something was fundamentally wrong with the man's brain He was basically a 1800s Reddit guy with a fedora.
Yep.
And his entire ideology was built off resentment and what he is owed, and so it's metastasized. It speaks to people who think they're owed something, deserve something, but without going through the pain and suffering of earning it, right?
Yeah.
And it's something beautiful that Dr. Jonathan Haidt, peace be upon him, came up with, is that towards the end of his The Righteous Mind book, a proper functioning society will have about 80% conservative bent, 20% liberal progressive bent, because the conservatives tend to not know when to change something. The liberals, progressives tend not to know when to stop.
Or when to keep something.
Right. And so you've got to have the heavy weight of long-time iterative improvement that the conservatives do, but every now and again you need somebody to be able to shock the system to change something that's fundamentally bad. Right. Well, right now, the progressive left, which has become very Marxist, cannot say no to its worst elements, because it is at this point bio-Leninism. It is a grotesquerie of some of the weirdest freaky freaks in the world. And that's why so many traditional liberals are partyless. They don't have a tribe right now. They don't want to go to the Trump direction, but they certainly can't go to the blue-haired, weird land beast thing, right?
Right. What is it? We're speculating. Of course, I know you don't have the answer, but we're talking about it. Let's speculate. What is it? Well, this is kind of a two-parter. I think you've probably noticed this too. I've noticed a lot of Christians of many different denominations claiming that judging anyone for anything, the very act of discerning and judging, is sinful, is an act of aggression, they're even if they don't say it, Jake, they say it as if it's a sin and heresy to judge or discern, to say no, to say that one is better than the other. Now, I'm an agnostic. I used to be an obnoxious new atheist. I was certain that no God existed. I'm now at the point in my life where I'm looking for faith. I don't know if I'll find it. I don't have it yet. But I have an awful lot more respect for committed religious people than I ever did before. And I was shocked. I was shocked to hear people inside religion, inside Christianity, and I'm not exaggerating, this isn't hyperbole, they believed that Jesus was a loving hippie who said, the only thing he ever said was, just do you, man. Don't judge. I wouldn't judge her. I'm not judging you. Just like your opinion, man. It's cool. Like, Jesus never flipped over the table of the money changers. Right. He never had harsh words for anyone. What is it in Christianity and or Mormonism, which Mormonism surprises me even more that it's vulnerable to this. How is it that these religious systems are so vulnerable to this, to what is to us obviously feminine narcissistic manipulation and evading responsibility? How is Christianity so vulnerable?
Weird readings, man, because of the New Testament, for instance, one of my closest friends is a lapsed Catholic who at one time was going to school, running up to be frocked, and he lost his faith thanks to the Marine Corps as well, or with the Marine Corps, and now he's kind of circling back to something. We don't know what it is yet, but about 6 months ago, I brought up to him that he was having a difficult time squaring his natural state of aggression with being a Christian. And I said, dude, we're worshiping this guy who walked into the temple one day, saw what was going on, and said, okay, all right, went back out, bought or procured somehow, and this is Jesus Christ, a bunch of leather cords and hand wove a whip. Now, if you've worked with leather, this is a task that takes more than 45 minutes, maybe less than 2 hours, who knows. But he sat there in silence, weaving this thing. His disciples are standing around, they're like, oh boy, what's going on here? Gets up and evidently without a word just goes in there and starts wailing ass, right? Flipping tables, beating animals, whooping people. This is not a subtle man. This is not a pacifist man. Now, there were times where it benefited him to not fight back. He even said, I could, but my purposes right now are don't. And so I have been blocked by more Mormons and Christians on Twitter by just citing and giving them the scriptures of when Christ whooped ass, and also his like 30-something insults that he was levying towards the Pharisees and Sadducees and other Jews. Like, the guy had a mouth on him, dude. Like, and so, like, I'm pretty strong. Smart like tractor, strong like ox. I can lift trees and things. The crossbar for his cross was like 300 pounds. After getting whipped himself, he carried that thing like I think it was like 600 meters to the Golgotha. This was not a pansy ass, Jesus Christ, right?
Right.
And so when these Christian people are like, hey, Jesus said love one another, you're not acting Christ-like. I'm like, you're not acting Christ-like. And here's the citations, instant block, right? And it's like, so I accuse people like, are you, right now the Mormon prophet is M. Russell Nelson is this guy. And I tell people, are you a Christian or are you a Russellite? Or, to mainstream Christians, are you a Christian or a Sherry Dewist? I don't know what writers they've got. But like, you've got to study the personality of the man himself and keep yourself in the confines of that, not what modern people interpret. There are times where a man or a woman needs to come in and lay people low because they're being evil, right? It can't be negotiated with. Fair, and equality and fairness is a false god, in my opinion. There are certain behaviors and things, you've seen it in your life, that are just ontologically evil. And if you tolerate them, you have hurt lesser, weaker people. And you cannot do that as a strong person.
Yeah, well, let's talk about strength and weakness. To be a good person in the Western world today, and this cuts across religion, secular, non-religious people have their own religions too. I mean, it's just the way it is. The left, the woke cult is in fact a cult. It is religious. Mm-hmm. And it seems that the dominant idea that we are supposed to live under is that love, kindness, all the things around the word love is always and only soft, nurturing, accepting. It doesn't say no. It doesn't close doors. It certainly doesn't lock doors. It doesn't throw people out of the party. I can't really see this as anything but the pathologically feminine has now been rebranded as love. Right. And in my understanding now, and I was one of these people, that I was, and everybody watching this knows that I was a leftist, I was a male feminist, I was an obnoxious wokey. But I can't see love and a disposition and an attitude that wants to bring health and things good to other people's lives. I can't see that. It has to contain a balance of the soft and the hard and the judgment to know when to apply which. And I'm not saying anything new or groundbreaking. It's only new and groundbreaking to those of us like me who spent most of our lives not listening to older and wiser people until we woke up. But this is not that controversial. But to say this, people look at you like they'll scream at you. They'll call you a bigot. They'll call you a misogynist. They'll call you a xenophobe. Anytime you say no, anytime you take a strong pose, not a weak one, they tell you that you're being evil. Do you see that too?
Oh, 100%, man. And look, my most successful clients that I've had in my clinic as a therapist have been people who have bought into this very well-sounding, well-funded, kind of the cultural progressivism, and there are a lot of great aspects to it. I mean, some of my best friends are liberals, haha. But what I do is I take my clients through kind of a masculine and or feminine archetypal, kind of in a Jungian framework of what are the attributes, the archetypes that makes your heart, your psyche ring the most, and then I take them through back to my boy, Dr. Jonathan Haidt, his moral indexes, his moral reasoning. Because what he had found is that of the 5 indexes of moral reasoning, conservatives pull from all 5, libertarians pull from all 5, but very much so on the whole sovereignty thing. Liberals tend to only pull from care, harm, fairness, and equity, or equality rather. And the other attributes are completely, they're blind to it. Purity, tradition, respect for authority, they can't see it, right? And so what I do with couples that are high conflict is I work out on these indexes where they sit. And every single time their conflicts come from when they have a polarity on one of those indexes, right?
Yep.
And it is bizarre to me that very few people from I don't know how old you are, Josh. You look like 37, 38. I'm 43. There's an entire generation or two of people that have not been taught moral reasoning in any significant way. They can't look at something and say, well, that's some bullshit. We ain't doing that, guys. Knock that off. It's pass the joint, smoke the joint, pass it on kind of thing.
Right.
So what's weird right now, or what's bizarre, is what the left has done as they're having their own cluster B meltdown as younger generations are rejecting them. Fitness is now fascism. Showing up on time is now fascism.
Also racist. Don't forget racist.
Yes. Reading old books is some form of fascism or white supremacy. And what's happening that should scare them, but a little bit make everybody nervous, is the young generation, my son's generation. They're like, okay, cool. If that's fascism, I guess that's what I am. And they're going all in on this whole Deus Vult, traditional Catholic.
What does that mean, Deus Vult?
It's the Christian version of Allah Akbar. God is great, right?
Okay.
And so we're having this rising generation that is the least, LGBT friendly of any generation prior to the boomers, right? Because it's been, as we talked about, whatever the left is pushing in America, they don't know when to stop. So people were pretty cool with the whole, LGB, gays get married, whatever. But now we have this bizarreness that's going on with the transgender community and push. And young people are like, yeah, no, too much. Don't like it. We're going back. And it is freaking current therapists, current teachers.
I know.
I see
it.
They're freaking out. And, they did it to themselves, right? Yeah. And it's like, all you had to do is not be an icky freak, right? And that's what I call it. It's like, these are icky freaks, right? And it is not wrong. It is not amoral or immoral to be disgusted by things that are revolting. It's a normal human trait. And one of my fan theories is that the reason why leftists and woke leftists have worse mental health metrics than anybody is because they force themselves, or try to force themselves, to believe and accept things that they have such cognitive dissonance towards, that their mind starts melting down. And right, and so and you saw it in the gay community, right? Oh yeah. And so when I get young people or husbands or wives that come into my clinic, and they're so stressed out and full of depression or anxiety because they simply can't accept something, I give them the hominis dominus of, then don't. Let that be one of your stopping points and never go further, and don't allow that in your life. And they're like, I can do that?
Yeah, I have permission to set a boundary. I have a permission to say no. Right. I have a permission to remove people from my property if they've crossed the line. I can't believe that. Yeah, that's where we are. As we're wrapping up here, you and I are going to talk, as I usually do with guests, we're going to hop on an audio episode soon where we can spend a longer time getting into some of this. But you won't have an answer, but maybe we can start and spark some conversation for later. What can concerned people like you, I'm not Mormon, but people like me, I'm concerned about this wherever I see it, but particularly those who have an active religious life, who are concerned about this infiltration of woke cluster B and frankly heretical thinking, what can we do? What can concerned people do to bring this knowledge to a wider audience? What do Mormons need to hear?
There's a scripture towards the latter end of the New Testament that says, resist the devil and he shall flee from you. What I don't know if you've seen this, Josh, but I certainly have. When you come to a leftoid, as I call them, and just simply shut them down. Yeah, no, that ain't true. We're not doing that. You're lying. I mean, here's what you're doing that shows that you're a bad faith actor. They do the cluster B thing. They freak out, melt down, and make a complete spectacle of themselves and flee, right? Usually back into their crowd, whining and crying that they weren't, they treated me so badly. He's a monster. Okay, cool. I'm a monster. Evil things should have evil things that they fear, right? I always tell people, it's like
I like to be that thing.
Well, and you are by just look, dude. You were a former insider into the super woke, LGBT rainbow crowd, and now you're shining a light back on it, saying, "Hey guys, this is what that was all about. This was fucking disgusting." They will die. And this is why, American leftism, modern American leftism, it literally cannot survive if anyone is able to sound the clarion call, which is why, Musk buying Twitter and opening it back up was such a crisis for them. If you simply, without the suicidal empathy, without the effeminate compassion, just straight up tell people, hey, look, I've got my eye on you. You're not going to be selling this garbage to anybody here, at least not without resistance. You can expect that they will scream and cry and roll in the dirt and call you every name in the book. And you're like, cool, if that's what I got to be to you, dude, but still, you're not doing it. They flee. They absolutely flee.
So the message I'm getting from here that I want to amplify to everybody, men, women, anybody of good faith, don't let them shut you up. Don't let them scare you. Let them scream. Let them cry. Let them call you a bastard. Let them call you a cunt. Doesn't matter what it is. Just hold the line and say no. You'd be amazed at how much you can accomplish if you say no and don't take it back even if they scream. It won't kill you if they tantrum at you. It really won't. I used to think it would. That's why I stayed under my mother's spell for 41 years. I thought if I didn't take it, that the world would end. Well, the reality was I was ending my own life slowly by taking it, and I took my life back when I said no. So, Jake, we got to wrap up here. I really appreciate this. I'm really looking forward to having a more in-depth conversation with you. Where can people find you and your work online? I know that your Twitter/X handle is @CareerFlex. So they can follow you on Twitter/X. Do you Substack? Do you have a website? Or do you have other forums, YouTube, anything like that?
Yeah, my website is careerflex.net. CareerFlex Twitter is sometimes serious, sometimes schizo posting. Starting up a Substack. People have been asking me to do such for years, and I'm finally getting around to it. But man, what I'm best at is one-on-one or group conversations. Where people will ask, "Hey, can I meet with you? Can I talk with you? Can we do a, Zoom calls, phone calls, whatever?"
Yes.
They tend to get. I'm fairly no nonsense. I'm friendly but not tame, so I tend to help people get things done pretty damn quick.
Excellent. That's what I try to do in mine too. Jake Freeman, marriage and family therapist, former Marine Corps. Thank you very much for joining us. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Rah.
All right. Come back after the break.
There's an entire generation or two of people that have not been taught moral reasoning in any significant way. They can't look at something and say, well, that's a bullshit. We ain't doing that, guys. Knock that off. It's pass the joint, smoke the joint, pass it on kind of thing.
Do you remember maybe a year and a half ago when image creating AI programs first became a really hot topic of conversation? Everybody was remarking on how all the common publicly available AIs were refusing to create images with historical accuracy. So, for example, when a user asked for a depiction of colonial Americans, they would get black Sudanese people wearing tricorn hats. When they asked for pictures of English people in the late Middle Ages, they got pictures of old London full of modern black Americans in Netflix's version of historical costume. Requests to draw Vikings literally got dark-skinned Japanese women in Viking warrior outfits. Well, it's no better now, and I suspect it's not going to get any better. Even Elon Musk's Grok AI, which he claims all the time that he's trying to train the woke out of, it still keeps doing it. And this is kind of funny, but it's not just funny, and it's not just little. It's not, lol, LMAO, just use a different AI, lol. People are desperately stupid, for those of you who haven't noticed this before, and they're already using AI to answer questions. They're taking the answers to questions that AI gives them as their anchor, their index to reality. So you get, you say something, and according to Grok, that's not real, lol. It's something you see every day online now. It was just immediate. When Grok says it's not true, Grok said this happened. Whatever an AI says, whatever it draws, is now considered reality by a sizable portion of the American public. We are already cooked, and we cannot be rescued. So it's all shit from here on in. People don't even know they need to be rescued. So that's why it isn't going to happen. In Western culture now, the people who created Western culture are forbidden to be acknowledged or depicted within Western culture. We, white Europeans and English, are moral contaminants, colonizers, genociders, rapists, and appropriators. We are scum, and we are so low that no responsible artificial intelligence would ever do harm by acknowledging that we actually exist. And I found this out because there was a whole spate of images on Twitter/X the other day from people trying desperately to convince Grok to make white people. So this is one from John Jackson. If you're on audio, this is depicting a group of people standing together and smiling. Asked Grok to make an image of America. This is what it spat out. Understand where we are. And what he means by that is it looks like a crowd in a stadium, a close-up of a crowd. Hold on to your seats. It's all mulattoes and octoroons. Yeah, I said it. But that's fine, right? It's just one picture, right? Why do you hate black people? Well, Marcos said, just did it myself. It literally could not generate an image with only white people, even when prompted. Elon Musk, this needs fixing. So for Grok, black people are the default. Black people, the 13% of our population, is Grok's default representation of what it means to be an American and what America looks like. Take a look at this one. Image submitted by somebody named Big Fish. I checked your claim and you are correct. Grok seems to be a train wreck. This is a picnic. I can't tell what kind of food that is, but everybody there is black. Every shade of black, from dark to cafe au lait to just a touch of skim milk in my coffee, please. They're all there. No white people. Let's put the next one up. This guy I asked it to create a patriotic meme. So it's a crowd of people with lovely smiles, waving American flags, celebrating Independence Day, and every single one of them is a dark-skinned black person. Now, Grok has also been programmed to lie and to be snotty to you about it while it lies, especially to white users. Human user Glenn Schott caught it doing so. He writes, Grok admits that it's purposely falsifying reality to achieve a priori extreme left outcomes. We'll roll to the next one and I'll read you what Grok's answer was to his complaint. This is Grok speaking. If, quote, America means it's diverse people, 13% black per census, that's accurate representation. Vague prompts get broad results. No woke virus, just stats. Want Mount Rushmore? Say so. So, human user Glenn Schott responds, Grok, you're not funny, just a hallucinating AI who can't recognize that the leftists have jacked up your learning. Why does your depiction of America have no white people? Grok answers. Image generation reflects training data's emphasis on diversity to counter historical biases, but yeah, all black crowd for America overshoots. The USA is about 60% white. But not leftist hijacking, just AI quirks. Try, quote, diverse American crowd, including all races for balance. No hallucinations here, just pixels. Caitlin, shut the fuck up. Who the hell programmed this jacked up tin can to talk to us like some snotty 16-year-old Gen Z bitch? Good Lord. All right. What are we on now? Oh, Anna Navarro. I don't think we've talked about her in a while. Guess who else can't be racist? Latina women. And yes, it's pronounced Latina. I have to do it the NPR Lourdes Garcia Navarro way. Have you noticed that, I've talked about this on the show before, that people like Anna Navarro, she's one of them, who are bilingual and who grew up speaking not just other languages, but also had, an accent to go with it. They have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Increasing the accent. It's very noticeable. They're making it, they're doing it so hard to make it sound like they can't speak any other way. And Anna Navarro does this too. It's really annoying. So biologist Colin Wright, evolutionary biologist Colin Wright, makes an excellent point. He says the Democrats really seem to believe that it's how they say things, not the content of what they say, that has turned voters off to them. So he writes on Twitter, there's a strange view on the left that the only thing preventing their positions from gaining widespread acceptance is, quote, messaging. Maybe, if by messaging they mean their ability to use confusing language to trick people into supporting absurdities. Now, here's a clip from CNN of a man named Brad Palumbo, he's a gay conservative, talking about this. And the nattering liberal woman next to him just lies and claims reality isn't real. This is from Abby Phillips' show.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think you're definitely being hyperbolic. You talk about a reign of terror when the doomsday alarm from Democrats or from media critics is always at a 10. It doesn't hit the same, honestly. And I think Obama's falling into the messaging trap. The issue for Democrats is not just the messaging. A lot of them seem to think that, well, if we just got the messaging right, America would love our ideas. Actually, no, a lot of their ideas are deeply unpopular. The Democrats have allowed themselves to become the party that stood in almost uniform behind child sex changes across America.
That's just not true.
I'm sorry, I can explain it in 30 seconds how true it is. Joe Biden brought Dylan Mulvaney to the White House for an interview talking about how important it was to keep those procedures legal in all 50 states. Every Democrat, after the recent Supreme Court decision, almost every Democrat in Washington put out a statement decrying it, that states would dare regulate puberty blockers being given to 11 or 12-year-olds on the border, on inflation. There are many issues where it's not a messaging issue. The policy is also the problem for Democrats. Like people who are ineligible, for example, their income is too high.
Who do you mean?
Well, the CBO estimates that millions of the people who would be removed by the Big Beautiful Bill, it's a fact, people would lose their health care. It's because they are literally ineligible for Medicaid because of the income requirement.
Hold on a second. Let me just make one quick point on that, and then I'll let you in, Phil.
Quack, quack, quack. That's not true. Quack, 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 quack. Not true, not true. Quack, 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 quack. That's all they do. Quack, quack, quack. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. When are we going to get the Warner Brothers vaudeville hook, the actual shepherd's crook, pull it around people's neck and drag them off stage right? Why are these people still on television shows? We got another one. Also, I think from the same show, this is Brad Palumbo again. Now, watch how Anna Navarro just completely insults him. Roll it, please.
Also, I want to respond to you saying that I was hyperbolic when I talked about a reign of terror.
Because that is hyperbolic.
No, it might be hyperbolic for you.
When I talked about
as a white
reign
man.
of terror.
Oh, okay.
It's certainly
So
not hyperbolic for me as a Latino. No, I'm not being racist.
To dismiss my opinion for being a white man.
No, I'm not dismissing your opinion. I am telling you that what the Latino community, the brown community in America. Okay, well, let me speak with my voice. I mean, you said I was being hyperbolic. Let me respond.
Racially, sure.
I'm not. You being a white man as an insult.
When you invoke it to dismiss my
being
opinion,
a white man as an insult.
When you invoke it,
do you think Latinos are living under circumstances that other people may not be right now in this country?
We're about to have a whole conversation about that very thing. But I just want to make a point that Brad, all she's saying is that her view of the situation is different from yours. I don't think that's an insult.
She basically said I'm wrong because I'm a white man.
She just said I see it.
Yes, she did say that, Abby.
She said I see it differently from you, which is not an insult. It's not,
you're lying.
and it's also not
you're not
a racial
very smart.
insult.
Not an explanation.
But
lying.
we have a lot more to discuss on this very topic, so we'll have some time.
And Navarro, let me speak with my voice. Let me speak with my voice. You got to speak. Do not speak over a woman. I told you, I think it was about 5, 6, or 7 episodes ago, that every time I do a Latina accent is going to sound just like Charo. Brad, let me give you a little bit of advice. You are not going to get respect from these bitches until you make them respect you. You have to make them respect you. So comport yourself like a serious grown-up man. Drop your voice an octave and introduce the following phrase into your vocabulary. Madam, you are out of line. And then move on and speak over her. That is how you deal with these women. Abby Phillip needs a helping of a good old male shut up too. She's so manipulative. But you know what you can count on? The delicious high quality of cured meat from BiltongUSA.com. I am so smooth how I just slide right into these readers. Go to BiltongUSA.com. Run by the Van Vieren family. We are very happy to have them as sponsors of Disaffected, and they sell wonderful meat called biltong. It's the South African way of curing very thinly sliced, high-quality meat with vinegar and spices. Comes in a variety of spice levels. You can get very mild all the way up to super hot. They've got venison, they've got beef, they've got Angus beef, they've even got sausages and dried mangoes, and a nice little sideline in European groceries on their website, BiltongUSA.com. So if you're a Brit, for example, stuck in the US and you just have to have bird's custard, these are the people you get it from. When you order, make sure you use the promo code JOSH to get 10% off your order. All right. Do you know what it's time for? It is time once again for Potpourri du Moquerie, the portion of the show where we rusty skin off everyone. Allons-y. Alec and Hilaria Baldwin. Let's go. You may know that Alec Baldwin is married to a histrionic, controlling wife who lied and said she's from Spain. This is the way that Google describes her. Her name is Hillary, and now she calls herself Hilaria. So when I pulled it up on Google, it says, Hilaria Baldwin, American yoga instructor and entrepreneur. Now, of course, Alec himself is an obvious narcissist, so it's a classic marriage. And that's what he asked for. You know, he's getting the consequences he asked for. But I want to know, why does he put up with his wife constantly sniping at him on camera in front of press and telling him to shut up so that she can speak? She does. She just does this right on camera now. And then I ask myself, why does he put up with stuff like this? If you're on audio, Alec is pretending to be a little baby on her shoulder while she rocks him. And the caption is, the moment my husband gets the slightest sign of a cold, seen the big baby. It was so cute. All right, let's move on to super extra autistic Harriet Potter, who just won a Rainbow Award. Miss Potter would like you to know that her name is something called Bara-John, and that her pronouns are he, him.
Ceremonies like the Rainbow Awards tonight are so important because it brings everyone together and it lets everyone celebrate themselves and everyone else at the same time and all of our individual and collective journeys. Receiving this award tonight, I feel so proud to be a part of Crosscare and so proud in my fellow young people in the youth group and of course my youth workers who worked so hard to receive this. The Rainbow Award process has meant so much to us because it shows how dedicated our youth workers are to making us feel accepted and safe in the space.
And what kid doesn't want to be accepted and safe in the space? I mean, I would have completely forgotten about getting my driver's license if someone had just promised me acceptance in safe spaces. All right, we got a lot of mockery this week from a Twitter user called Gay Not Queer. I don't know who you are, but I love what you put up there. He hates the true nonsense, too. We'll put up a still of one of his tweets. He says, Zay Zem Zir wants to tell you about his that's bad, gay not queer, not his pronouns, Zers or Zem's pronouns. Well, let's hear from Zem directly.
You for being a part. Can I dance?
Yeah, you want to.
Thank you for being a
Daddy
part
loves
of the
you.
conversation. Hi, my name is Jace Wright. I'm a recovery support peer specialist here at the Montrose Center. My pronouns are Z, Zim, and Zir. Now you might be wondering, what does that mean?
Wondering.
Simply put, Z, Zim, and Zir are neo-pronouns. You can think of them as new pronouns that people use to help self-identify themselves. For me, it was personal choosing Z, Zim, and Zir because of my Mexican culture and the word Latinx, where the X represents a gender-neutral identifier. So I was able to combine my identity and my Mexican culture all in one to express who I am. Non-binary Awareness Week is a time.
Yes, but does it come with beans, rice, and crema? He's in his Mrs. Roper phase. Look at him. Why? Kevin, put Mrs. Roper on the screen. You know, when I used to hang out with real drag queens, like the real comedy kind, at the tail end of the era where it was called female impersonation, where these guys actually they worked really hard to create an actual impressive illusion of a famous woman celebrity, either vocally or through the face. That's what they all wanted to be. Judy Garland or Marlene Dietrich. Nobody wanted to be the landlord's wife in Southern California in a caftan. Oh my God. All right. Friend of the show, Adam David Worrell, an insane Jewish Englishman living in Canada. Obviously, that's why he's insane. Well, he made us a new movie in our favorite franchise, and I have to give it up to him. I think you will recognize the cast. If we can put up... Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, The Unfuckables. That was a rare candid actually taken at the craft services table. Thank you very much, Adam. Now, remember last week when we told you that Carnival Cruise Lines is banning what online people insist on calling clack fans? Those are formerly known simply as hand fans to normal people who've been alive for longer than 35 years. Well, anyway, the blacks were all lining up for the cheap cruise tickets and taking over nightclubs and making loud thwack noises as they did this synchronized line dance. And Carnival had enough of it, so they changed all the rules. But the obnoxious accessories, don't worry, are not going anywhere thanks to faggots with fans in London during Pride Month. Do you remember when Dances with Fans meant hitting your mark and doing your moves on the beat in time with the choreography? Her Majesty remembers. That is a star. Leave it to a real queen, boys. All right, since turnabout is fair play, we here at Disaffected have to take our lumps too. Kevin and I slaved over a live show with actual conversation between us on camera last week for all of you. And the only thing that friend of the show, Matthew Johnson, cared about was the technical screw-ups. Look at the harm he did to me on Twitter. Here's his tweet. Not since Lucy and Ethel have I seen such a hot mess as the live show tonight. Cram it up your panty girdle, Matthew. The cigarette butts and couch change are getting lonely. All right. I have a special offer for you, and this is why you should follow us on Twitter/X. As a reminder, we are at DisaffectedPod, and this is serious. I will do this for the amount of time that I have to do it. I'm running a special offer just for men. No, it's not hair dye. Send me a selfie on our Twitter account, and I will make you trans. I'll make your selfie trans for free. That's right, free. Friend of the show, Ellen, asked why I was such a generous philanthropist. And I told her that when your heart is 2 sizes too big, anything is possible. That's my word for atherosclerosis, which is what I actually have. Anyway, here are 2 examples of the work I've done for satisfied customers. First, the before. This is from Deshaun. Deshaun sent me his before selfie, just regular looking guy in a collar and a sweater. I transed it and sent him this. Pretty? See? And do not think that you can present me with a case that's too difficult. My Microsoft Paint surgeon scalpel is swift and sure. Let me demonstrate. Here is the before. And here is the after. Instant trans. Freaking beautiful. So send me a picture of yourself, men's, to @DisaffectedPod, and if I feel like it, I'll trans you for free. All right. We're coming up to the end of the show, but I'm confident that this is the week that you are ready to support Disaffected financially, aren't you? You've enjoyed the show for a year or two. Maybe you've gotten something else here that you don't get anywhere else. There's nothing quite like it out there. Well, it's time to become a supporting member. Do it for me and do it for mommy. Seriously, would you please help us pay for this show? We would really appreciate it. The work that goes into it has to be paid for somehow, and you viewers and listeners are quite literally more than 95% of this show's modest income, along with our wonderful sponsor. We do actually need you, and we appreciate it. When you become a monthly supporting member, and it starts at just $5 a month over at Subscribestar, you get a membership in our private Discord chat server with hundreds of show fans, and you'll also get an invitation to our monthly meetups on the first Saturday of every month at 12 noon Eastern Time. I couldn't make the last one because of family obligations, but I'll be there next time. There's 2 easy ways to join. Go to subscribestar.com/disaffected or disaffectedpod.substack.com and sign up as a monthly supporting member. And if you do want to give us some support, but you got subscription fatigue, easy solution. Hop on over to our site, disaffected.com, and click on Support Us in any amount you like. That's the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.